Okay, interesting thing happened this week where there were reports emerging of additional quality levels being added to Microsoft's xCloud, its Xbox streaming. And I saw a particular screenshot showing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora being streamed over xCloud at 1440p resolution. And I thought, that's interesting because, we're kind of on the record as not being particularly impressed with the image quality specifically of Xbox Cloud streaming. I think it's fair to say that it just isn't really good enough. That was feedback we gave to Microsoft, and Microsoft's feedback back was essentially, well, it's not designed to be the ultimate best of the best streaming solution. It's designed to bring streaming to as many internet connections as possible. I kind of get that, but I also think that the quality should just be better. When I was looking at games like Starfield and Forza Horizon 5 on xCloud, the first thing was just the proliferation of macro blocks. It just really wasn't that impressive. And, what can I say? I'd be telling anybody considering that sort of streaming, especially for a TV, to buy a secondhand Series S. That would be my take on that. However, this week there were these reports of higher quality streaming, a higher quality 720p mode, a higher quality 1080p mode, and for a first here, 2560 by 1440 streaming. Not 4K, but I think 1440p is absolutely fine, bearing in mind that the xCloud servers are essentially streaming Xbox Series S code. It's not Series X. It's basically Series X silicon virtualized into Series S instances. And I thought, well, if this guy can play Avatar Frontiers of Pandora at 1440p, maybe I can too. And indeed, it came to pass. There's probably going to be other games that are doing it, but you can see using Microsoft's own monitoring system here that I am getting 1440p streaming. And it's interesting that we're using Avatar here because, as we were talking about earlier with GeForce Now, even on Series S, there's a huge amount of detail here that's just going to really cause problems for video encoders. And it's not just the detail level, it's also a proliferation of volumetric fog, which any kind of fog or transparency really seems to play havoc with video compression on a sort of bandwidth-starved diet. But, I played Avatar for, I don't know, half an hour or so. And I actually went through to a particular save game where I know there's a lot of volumetrics going on. This is a dramatic improvement, I'd say, over the xCloud I know. I'm not going to say I'd still want the native Series S experience, to be honest, but this is so much better. The latency doesn't seem to be impacted, and that was always one of the good things about a fully functional xCloud, is that the latency wasn't too bad. You can actually check out Tom's piece on that from back in the day where he did the legwork there. Latency was significantly lower than PlayStation 4 equivalent streaming, which you can only stream on a PlayStation, weirdly. So yeah, this is all looking really, really impressive. And just going to take this this supporter question from Sega Master System for the win. This is that's bait.
This is revenge, sweet
Rich.
revenge, Rich. Justice for this Master System fans in our comments.
Let's put that to the side
Yes.
and talk about the question. Hey, cloud gaming fanatics at Digital Foundry, double exclamation point. With the ROG Ally X costing a small fortune and its competitors, Lenovo, etc., priced about the same, my handheld dreams feel more out of reach than ever. John gave a glowing review of the Backbone Pro a short while back, and I'm reading good things about the GameSir controllers. With 1440p all but guaranteed now, is streaming Xbox/Game Pass games to my phone finally a viable alternative? Well, it's an interesting question, but I am curious as to whether that 1440p mode will actually be deployed to mobile devices. It might seem like overkill, but for smaller screens, so that might not happen. But again, I think there are apps out there that are actually talking directly to the xCloud servers and basically forcing higher resolutions, higher bit rates. I think the only thing about whether it's viable is not so much about the streaming as such. but more as to whether it's just the Game Pass library that you're interested in streaming. Now, there is going to be some progress made there because Xbox is also slowly opening up xCloud streaming for games you own as opposed to games that are just on Game Pass. And I'm actually not sure if Avatar is part of Game Pass at the moment, but that was the game that I tested, and it's a game that I owned. So there's that as well. I think the other thing to bear in mind is that, what can I say? You are still streaming Xbox Series S versions of those games. So Avatar, for example, you can run that at 60 on a Series X. You can run it at 60 on a PlayStation 5 or close to it. You can obviously do that at PC. So, there are going to be other streaming solutions that will offer superior experiences simply down to the host hardware. And I think it's going to come at some point that this has been reported that Microsoft is all in on next generation streaming. So it's going to happen at some point. So there are certain limitations in place.
I mean, he's talking about a phone, though.
Yeah.
And I find phone internet, even with 5G, it's not stable enough in all the situations where you would need it.
Yeah.
Signals kind of come and go. There's latency.
Yep.
There's so many use cases where you might want to do this. And it's I'm in an airport now. And it's all the buildings making the signal suck. Oh, and the Wi-Fi is slow.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? It's or I'm on the train. I'm going fast through the city. It's the signal's going up and down like crazy. I mean, even in higher tech cities and stuff, I find this to be a pretty serious problem that I don't feel like it's good for streaming. If you want to sit at home with your fast internet on Wi-Fi, then it might be okay. But that kind of defeats the purpose of the portability, right?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Alex, thoughts?
Yeah, I was just about to echo John that it really depends on what your use case is in terms of where you're sitting when you want to be doing this. I've had countless I have actually pretty great, quality in terms of the wireless I get in Germany due to my plan, but it's usually not enough. I'm even confused that the quality settings YouTube is constantly grabbing for me. So I don't know, but I also think the smaller your screen gets, it's just about macro blocking at that point, trying to eliminate that as much, because these screens, you'd be surprised how good actually really nice even 720p looks on them if it's clear. That's why I always said these portable things, they don't really need to go that much higher than 720p to look great. I feel like that case maybe, if not Xbox, maybe in-home streaming is also another thing you should look at if you're thinking about the home use case. There's so many great in-home streaming things. John's looked at them before. So there's maybe other alternatives.
I mean, one thing I do want to point out is that we had some discussions at Gamescom, and a bit of feedback I got back from developers is there's actually a surprisingly large amount of xCloud use now, to the point where some developers are actually really surprised at how many people are streaming their games. It's funny because we never get any actual metrics from anybody, from Nvidia, from Microsoft on actual usage. I think the point that Microsoft actually started to use Series S versions so they could virtualize more game instances from Series X Cloud Silicon is probably indicative that there is a demand there. But we're just kind of not quite aware of how much demand there actually is. But the feedback is that there is growing momentum for xCloud, which I find quite interesting. But yeah, I mean, I do think there needs to be next-gen streaming at some point. But in the meantime, if you're getting a 1440p stream, the quality level is so much more improved. And the fact that you can use Avatar as a sort of ultimate stress test for it, I think is pretty cool. I'm not sure whether if somebody out there will be able to replicate that. I was able to, as soon as I saw that I had 1440p, I instantly just used NVIDIA Share at maximum settings to grab this footage, 130 megabits to capture the 25 megabit stream. But it should give you some idea of how good it looks, hopefully. And I'd say I was pretty impressed. So, that's pretty cool stuff.